Hi folks, Simon here, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Tokyo Game Show. And if you don't know, the Tokyo Game Show is a big gaming event, convention thingy, that takes place in Japan on an annual basis, and it is this year scheduled for the end of this month. Now, more specifically, we're going to be having a look at Square Enix's role in it. As you probably know, my channel is focused primarily on Final Fantasy content, and I've got to say, things have gone all quiet on the Western front there in terms of Final Fantasy news and updates coming out of Square since the remake was launched on PS4 earlier this year. And a lot of us are now looking for the future. Now, I will say up front, there is nothing official coming out of Square at the moment that they are even going to be talking about Final Fantasy at the Tokyo Game Show. But there's a few hints, a few little things here that we can take a peek at that suggests that that may be the case. Now, nothing big, so I'm just going to show you some of the stuff that's been going around online here, and then, you can make up your own minds as to whether we're actually going to be getting any news, especially in terms of perhaps the future of the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and perhaps what, in my opinion, is likely, or more likely, rather, even than that, is a potential announcement for Final Fantasy XVI. Something I've been expecting for a long time now, and I do think the time is just about right. So, first of all, looking at the schedule itself, and by the way, as far as I know, all of the panels and all the announcements are going to be live streamed. In fact, Square themselves have set up a brand new Twitch channel, which is dedicated to all of their panels and events that are going to be occurring at TGS this year, so you can catch everything live as it happens. But the first thing to note on the schedule here is that Square Enix do have a prime slot. So this is the opening day, the opening set of sessions, and Square Enix have got the main stage of the event booked very early in order to talk about whatever it is they're going to want to talk about. And they do have a lot of games in development, so, there may not be any future announcement, or there may not be any announcements of future titles that we don't yet know about here, but, they would still have a lot to talk about, so just bear that in mind. Being on the main stage here in a prime slot doesn't mean that we're going to be getting Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 news. But if we are going to get that, then it makes sense that they would have this slot. So that's the first thing that's worth noting here. Right, so let's briefly move over to what it is that we know Square are going to be speaking about, because they've kindly put up this website for us, this TGS 2020 website, where it shows their particular lineup for the event this year. Now, obviously, they're going to be speaking about some of their upcoming big games such as Avengers. They're going to be talking about the Melody of Memory Kingdom Hearts release. They're going to be, it seems, putting quite a bit of time into the Dragon Quest franchise. And they are going to be spending some time speaking about ongoing projects that are no doubt still making them tons of money, such as Final Fantasy XIV. So nothing too surprising here. Now, of course, there's nothing in terms of Final Fantasy VII Remake. There's nothing in terms of Final Fantasy XVI. If they're going to be making announcements to those projects, we wouldn't expect them here in their lineup anyway, because they're not going to be spoiling that. However, if we go to their schedule on the same website, then what's interesting is we have their various projects laid out here in terms of their streaming schedule and the dates that we can learn more about those projects. But their first two streams, so their prime streams, which are occurring on September 24th, don't have any information about them whatsoever. And if we go down the list here, one or two of the other streams also just have this coming soon placeholder in position. Now, it's very possible, again, this is speculation really, but it's fun, isn't it? It's very possible that if they are going to be making an announcement such as Final Fantasy XVI, or perhaps more information on Final Fantasy VII Remake, and not just necessarily on Part 2, I know a lot of you are waiting to hear news about that, or maybe a teaser trailer, but, we haven't really heard anything about Part 1 since it was released in March earlier this year. There's been no further announcements as to the end of the exclusivity, which is now in a few months' time. On PS4, there's been no announcements as to patch content or DLC content, and just generally, what Square's ambitions are for that first game. So maybe they'll be talking about some of that here. But whatever it is, if they're going to be speaking about the future of Final Fantasy, then it's very likely that that's what these particular slots are going to be used for, at least partially. And then some of these panels, which are going to be more dedicated to specific projects, could very well be placeholders for those games. So if they're going to announce Final Fantasy XVI, for example, then it's very possible that one of these placeholders is perhaps more of a deep dive into specifically Final Fantasy XVI, and maybe something similar for FF7 Remake as well. Though, as I say, in my opinion, just based on the previous evidence and rumours and what have you that have been going around online over the last few months, it is more likely that we're going to be hearing news about FF16 than we are about FF7 Remake Part 2. Though who knows, we could hear news about both. Or neither, we just don't know yet. But just one more thing as well that's worth commenting on, and this could be fake, but people have noticed it because of the timing. A little bit convenient. Just a few days ago, in fact, as this event, I guess, was being, set up by Square and stuff, this particular Twitter feed popped up, placeholder Twitter feed for Final Fantasy 16. Now, right now, it's locked. There's no content on there. But it is very possible that if Square are going to be announcing Final Fantasy 16, they're going to want the Twitter to be ready so that they can start posting content on there. And I just thought that was worth noting. This is just a few days old, this account. It was started this particular month, I think about 4 or 5 days ago. And like I say, the timing, along with the schedule here, just all fits together that maybe Square are building up to an announcement at this event. But there we are then, guys. Like I said, a little bit of speculation. But, I think that it's possible, perhaps even more than possible, that we are going to be very, very happy after watching these streams. But please do share your thoughts down in the comments below. Are you going to get hyped for a potential Final Fantasy 16 announcement, or perhaps some news as to the future of Final Fantasy 7 Remake? As I say, for me, I think it's more likely that we'll get news on the former rather than the latter. But maybe we'll get both. I'll be very, very happy if that is the case. But yeah, please do let us know down in the comments what you think. Or are you just avoiding the hype bandwagon? I know we've been stung so many times in the past. Why do we do this to ourselves? I don't know. But yeah, if you're managing to, just stay calm and not get excited at all, then, I'm very... But if there are any announcements pertaining to Final Fantasy 16 or the Final Fantasy 7 Remake, then I will, of course, be sharing those with you and updating all of my viewers accordingly. But thank you so much for stopping by, checking out the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.